last couple of days, the Post has had 2 articles where I've been referred to as a think tank wonk and as a national security expert, and so I guess this is my face. So I think I would like to thank Larry for the introduction, and also for there are people in politics who believe and have demonstrated that ideas matter, and that it's not just about polls or about working from the set of things that we're given, but about making new ideas and changing what can happen, and people like him have been doing it for years. And I think that the new, to go to a federal issue, but the defense agenda that Secretary Gates just announced, which is breathtakingly ambitious and new and different, is directly attributable in a large part to a lot of the work that Larry has been doing for years. And it does show you that ideas matter, and that thoughtful analysis and brave analysis matter. And I think today I'd like for just a couple minutes to do a different speech than I usually do. I have a stump speech, which I do a lot, which is about caring about social justice and economic fairness, and the kinds of candidates that I think are worth their salt have to be able to answer 2 questions, which is why are you running and what do you want to do? And those to me are about activism in the first instance, and the second, that this office of Lieutenant Governor can be much more than just a placeholder or a stepping stone. I think it can be a public advocate and someone who takes on systems every day in Richmond that are failing working Virginians, their families, and shines a spotlight on problems we've ignored for too long. That is the core of this campaign, and it's one of the reasons that it's caught on so broadly over the last 4 months. We've been up for 4 months, and now we have outlasted every other candidate except for one. We have seen our support both among the ranks and with very strong commitments from leaders grow day by day. Last Saturday, we won 3 straw polls in Virginia, in Bristol, representing all of Southwest Virginia west of Roanoke, in Caroline County, and then we won the statewide Virginia Young Democrats straw poll, which had, I think, 8 different votes around the Commonwealth. And then we got the endorsement of 2 papers in Southside Virginia. So you start to see, and then on Saturday, a letter was sent out endorsing me by Suzette Matthews, who's the chair of the 1st Congressional District, which goes from Northern Virginia down into Tidewater. And we do have a statewide campaign that is growing in every instance. So, and it is robust because the message is good. People like this idea. I've been describing it as an aggressive progressive. Somebody who is on the offense and believes that we win votes and we win elections when we know what we stand for. And that's exactly what we did last year in Tom Ferriello's campaign against Virgil Goode, which I was the senior strategist of. And it was an incredible victory, and I think we can do the same thing this fall. All that said, I think that I will, just for a minute, talk about something different, which is the importance of ideas in politics and the connection between my concerns about national security and this book that I just came out with and this little campaign for a statewide office. And the book that I just wrote, which is called Demagogue, The Fight to Save Democracy from Its Worst Enemies, it is about constitutionalism and national security. And the argument about in the book is that if we don't attend very carefully to what makes a successful democracy tick, which in my understanding of American history is constitutionalism. It's when you have a deep investment by ordinary people in a culture of Republican values, which operates both internally. It means that I see myself as a democratic citizen, and I think of myself that way. And it colors everything about how I act. And then externally, it means that I keep leaders on a very short leash who would abuse power. Those are the 2 directions of constitutionalism. And I think it's what makes the successful democracy like America tick. And it's what the neocons did not understand when they started implanting democracies in Iraq and Afghanistan. They did not understand the importance of a Republican culture. And if you go back to your de Tocqueville or you go back to your Hannah Arendt, to go to some big ideas that have mattered in politics, you learn that that is what matters. And the argument of the book is that we need to understand very deeply what has helped us in this magnificent democratic experiment that continues today, that began in my Commonwealth in Virginia. If we're ever to go about being the true city on a hill that we are supposed to be and that we can be, And that actually does apply at a state level to something like the lieutenant governor race, very deeply. It's one of the reasons that I've come out so strongly in this race on this issue of the restoration of rights for ex-offenders, because the fact is that in Virginia, 20% of African-American men cannot vote today. We are the only state, along with Kentucky, that has maintained this policy where you are disenfranchised for life if you commit certain crimes. And it is a gross medieval instance of de jure discrimination against a class of people. And every other state has changed their laws, including Texas. When George W. Bush was governor, he changed it. And Charlie Crist just did it in Florida, but we're sitting out here on our own. And the reason it's bad is because it locks people out of participating in a republic, and you start to see the impact of that in inner cities. You see it in all across the Commonwealth, and I just think that it's fundamentally flawed, and it doesn't give citizens a sense of accountability or responsibility for the polity they live in. And I think that we can change it. And it's a difficult political issue, but I think it's an important one. And it's also led to the way that I've conducted the campaign. This has not been a typical poll-driven campaign. It's been a campaign that's much more about, or that's based on cashing in on generations of favors. It's been about getting out there and talking to people and having a transparent structure and a horizontal one that is based on stirring in people the sense that politics can be more than just something they've heard before. And that, in 4 months, has created a campaign that is moving like that on every metric, from donations to grassroots endorsements to the number of volunteers we have, to the sense of excitement that's palpable, to the number of bloggers who endorsed us, which is basically I think every one in Virginia, to the number of veterans who endorsed us. And the final thing is, I do think that there is an extension between national security and just having good quality elected leaders, because democracy is hard. And I do think that if you only have the same old who just push a button and all the elbows they've rubbed start rubbing them back, then the nation isn't as strong as it could be. And a democracy is as strong as its elected leaders. And it has been about pushing in and coming in to the elected process, because I think I have a good idea, and I think that there are people who are willing to support it. And that is about national security, and it's one of the reasons that I've been very blessed to have this incredible support from members of the national security community. Retired general and flag officers have endorsed the campaign from all 4 services, and I think they see qualities of leadership. That's the campaign, and we're down to the wire. We've got 8 days left. We have moved into double digits in a recent poll, with 70% of the voters undecided, on the basis of a message and earned media and grassroots excitement alone. Our paid media starts this week. We haven't done a dime yet. So our mail goes out tomorrow. All of our other media starts going out. And then in this final last 8 days, we need your help financially. And it's because it will allow us to take the final step of putting all this great bulk into action, because it does depend on paid media. Everybody here knows that. So your investment will go a long way to helping me close this out strong and have a campaign flourish in Virginia that is not just about polls, and that is about real ideas and real leadership and a sense of the possible rather than the past. So that's my pitch. And I do hope that you give, and whatever you thought about giving, I do hope you give more, because it will be toward a good cause and a good investment in a real campaign. And thank you so very much for being here. I really do appreciate it. Thank you to the organizers and all the hosts and all the sponsors. I really appreciate your help. So thanks. And if you have any questions or thoughts, I'd love to hear them. But you can apply.
All right, thanks everyone. I'm just going to close things up. It looks like Rudy had to leave early. My name is Ryan Polich. I'm on the board of directors of America's Impact.